Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folare. Yesterday, we all were witness. It was live. We heard the presentation of a groundbreaking budget talking about the Lagos State's 2023 appropriation bill that was, presented by the governor and laid before the Lagos State House of Assembly by Governor Sanwo-Olu. It's a budget of continuity, and we have with us here the Lagos State Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Mr. Samuel Egube. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Yori.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you. Now, as I was saying, I imagine you people in there are probably as excited as those who listen to the governor present it live. It's well, I don't think anybody has gone as high as 1.692 trillion yet. You're not trailing anybody, are you?
No, we never trail people.
Okay, so we'll come to talk about that. But first of all, let's take a background package that our Bimba Agbedi did, and then we'll come back in studio and talk with the Honorable Commissioner.
Just like past traditions, the hallowed chambers of the Lagos State House of Assembly was filled to capacity amid fanfare.
Come 2023.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu kicked off his core task for the day, highlighting the impact his administration has made in various sectors of the state's economy in the last 3 years. Governor Sanwo-Olu then swiftly proceeded to the presentation of a budget estimate of 1.692 trillion to the lawmakers for the new fiscal year, christened Budget of Continuity.
The 2023 appropriation bill expresses our unwavering determination to keep serving the good people of Lagos through our team's developmental agenda. We are indeed grateful for the trust reposed in us by the people. We have resolved to continue our audacious intervention to every sector of our economy, and I'm confident that this budget of continuity will propel Lagos State to the next fiscal level.
To keep Lagos moving.
The proposed monetary plan is with a capital to recurrent ratio of 55.45%. Reacting to the presentation, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, asked the governor to also address the rising level of poverty in the state in the new fiscal year.
The year 2023 budget of Lagos State should have more human face, be targeted at reducing poverty and improving the welfare of the residents of the state as part of the team's agenda that guides this administration. We will also, as usual, continue to give needed support to you, our dear Governor, as we all march ahead to solidify the achievement gained since 2019 when you took the reins of the government.
The bill awaits a second reading on the floor of the House. Abimbola Agbebi, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay, then. Okay, a quick report there. Mr. Commissioner, first of all, you said you don't trail anybody. So Lagos as a pace setter is sort of a 1.692, but it still is, even though that is still far ahead of anybody else, it is still a little less than the 1.75 billion of last year. Now, that's not very usual, so there must be a very good reason.
Oh, certainly. When we came last year with a 1.75 groundbreaking budget, we had informed Lagosians that we had seen what the future was going to look like. We're looking at seeing that there were going to be turbulence ahead. We knew that inflation was going to be extremely challenging, and therefore we had taken a strategic decision to load up our 2022 budget to bring forward certain projects and certain spend. Okay. So you will see that the deficit position for 2022 was high at 521. We are now seeing the benefits. I mean, if we didn't do those spends at those times, what you would have found is that the cost of those projects, the red line, the blue line, will have probably doubled, all right, given the scenarios globally on the inflation side and the FX situation, because a lot of these were FX denominated. So what you now find
Foreign exchange for whoever is not conversant with, because so many of our people don't deal with dollars. But,
So what you then find now, right, is that this budget is now contained a bit because we don't need to take on those huge, what I would call exceptional or extraordinary spend to protect the value of what we're trying to do. So we're just finishing some of those projects now. So we do not need to spike it to that level beyond where we need to also bring ourselves, given the discipline of the government of Lagos, within sustainability limits. So that's exactly why you see the small drop in the budget size. But a lot of those projects are already on stream because we had brought them forward into 2023.
And which, let it be said, points to a very good read of the situation, especially the very near future, which, as you've just explained, things have now been done that, if they had been left undone, would have been much more expensive than when they...
Significantly more
expensive. Expensive. Again, I noticed that just looking at the budget, between capital and recurrent expenditure, we see a very healthy, given the reasoning that the governor gave, that it is always the objective of Lagos state government that there should be a significant, significantly higher proportion of the budget going to capital expenditure. That's why we have 55%, and that's 932.7 billion, and 759 almost. It's just that you can't. When you're talking about billions, you can't be rounding off to 760. So let's keep it at 759.96 billion, which is 45% of the budget. So, and that the governor mentioned it occurred to me when he was speaking that, oh, he's mentioning this. Does it mean we can't take it as of course that capital will always be higher, should always be higher? It means we can't take that as a given.
So it's not given, it just speaks to the discipline of the leadership of Lagos led by Mr. Governor. It's also a tradition by the leaders of Lagos that have preceded him. So there is a sense, a continuity of culture in the way we organize ourselves in Lagos. Lagos is that place where you need to continue to build infrastructure. You need to continue to give the people a chance to thrive. We have a very enterprising population, and they need to make the investments that are required. And therefore, you cannot then put a lot of your spend on the recurring side. In addition to the fact that as you spend on the recurring side, you create value, significant amount of value for the people. Their land prices begin to rise. Their assets begin to gain in value as we do some of those strategic spends. It's also around the way we look at productivity. So if you see the big spend in the rail, for example, 2 rail lines are going to be commissioned shortly. They are lines that will move significant amount of people every month, probably about 32 million people monthly.
That is in addition to the 4 million the governor said is already being moved by land transportation.
Exactly. Right? Now, it will shorten their journey times, from 2.5 hours to 30 minutes. That takes up the productivity of our people. So it's a budget that centers around our people so that they are more productive, that their enterprise yield, and the framework and capacity which we bring to the table in the infrastructure we're undertaking, in the human development expenditures that we are undertaking, actually just helps the economy of Lagos do extremely well. So it is for that reason we always will put CapEx ahead of our recurrent expenditure, right, to basically increase the
You just
value.
did another one, Mr. Commissioner.
Capital expenditure. Capital expenditure.
Because I know that this is perfectly understandable to all the economy reporters and banking reporters.
Capital expenditure.
So that's right, it's always like that. The other significant thing, first of all, Mr. Governor had explained that education is very, very important. In fact, that was right off the bat when he was speaking about education. And I just want to link education and the youth, because that's another thing Governor Sanwo-Olu was very careful to sort of point out if it wasn't visible already, the extent to which Lagos is going to empower and provide the appropriate environment for youths to not just develop, but also flourish. Maybe that's something that you'd like to sort of underline. So
it's a combination of things that enable our young people to flourish. So on one side, you look at the education budget, but beyond the education budget, you are thinking about what type of education at the various level. You need our people to be future ready. A bulk of our people, we seem to be scarce, right, when it comes to technical and vocational output. So we are strengthening that very significantly. You recall that we signed an agreement with Siemens at the recently concluded Egbeti, basically on vocational and technical education, right? So that we'll be doing quite a bit of, right? We're also introducing comprehensive schools, right, within our secondary school systems, where we train people on really all vocational type stuff. You know, we realized that people were dropping out of school to go and try to learn, get a livelihood by learning some skills. And we are finding out that, look, it's better for us to bring those learnings within formal educational environments where we are sure of the quality of training. So we introduced, and we've done 12, we are headed to 50.
Exactly.
And what we are seeing is that we're seeing people come back to school. We're seeing people who the principal said were playing truancy all the time, beginning to concentrate. It means that we are striking a chord in the lives of the development of our young people, right? That is making them, attracting their interest. But beyond that also, the entire technology space is a space that is driven heavily by young people.
Indeed.
So we are supporting the tech hubs. We are giving vouchers that people could go there, right, using LSTF, and they can work from those tech hubs and really get support. But, you know, we're also doing a backbone infrastructure. We're laying 6,000 kilometers of broadband fiber duct infrastructure, with 3,000 in the first instance, for which we've gone, of the 3,000, we're at about 2,900 now, right, covering the entire Lagos, linking our schools, linking our hospitals, our public spaces, but also creating a highway for broadband, for industries that to also...
Because I noticed the governor had pointed out that Lagos State itself was investing in laying cables. This was in addition to, I believe it was Google, he said. Yeah. There's a partnership with Google. Google is in, and Lagos is going to be involved in that kind of a thing. But he says, beyond even that is probably what you're talking about, where Lagos itself will be spending, you know, its own.
So we are creating a smart city for Lagos. So we are investing in very huge type 3 data centers, right, as government ourselves. But because of what we are doing in conjunction with the private sector in the metropolitan of our fiber duct infrastructure, we are then attracting investment in hyperscale data centers. Google landed their Equano subsea, because, I mean, if you bring that kind of capacity to the shores and you're unable to distribute into the city, then you will have high capacity internet by the water, but the people will not experience it. So this infrastructure will then facilitate that capacity in. And who are the guys that operate in this space? It's our young people. They are creating stuff on the technology side. We are home to a lot of very big startups, right? And we are making significant amount of progress in that space. But our young people are also in entertainment and the creative arts. So we announced the creative, African Film City, right, that will be building. We've committed about 100 hectares of land already, working with Del York, Storyland. If you realize, recently we went on a tour, right, of Atlanta, looking at the Tri-Light Studios, right? Because there are people that have also shown significant interest there. What are we trying to do? We're trying to give our people space to express, to co-create with people from around the world. When you combine entertainment, you combine technology, then you see our youth population in that particular space. But beyond that, we're also making investments in sports, right? Where again
All
you
of
see
this
a
is
lot
still
of our young
connected
people.
with youth, yes.
We're doing 8 stadia simultaneously across Lagos. We are introducing sports actively back into our secondary schools. And if you see the new schools we are building, like in Elemoro, right, in Agege, and Vetland School, you see the pitches there and the quality. Again, is focused on our young people. So once you meet them in the place of sports, you meet them in the space of entertainment, you give them the right platform and institutions and structure around technology, then again you will have reached out. So you see,
because apart from sports and entertainment, as you just said, you're also meeting them in the space of business enablement.
Exactly.
You know, I think the governor was saying that there had been instances where Lagos State government had, you know, provided seed capital for some sort of ventures.
Yeah. So you see LSTF, which is the institution, right, that tends to stimulate employment. Stimulates it quite a lot around small and micro, small and medium type businesses, right? So you see a lot of grants going in that direction to basically strengthen them. You see a lot of mentorship, and we're putting billions in that area just to support them. But it's not just the money. We're also giving them exposure. We're giving them mentorship, right? And that entire space is then beginning to see growth. So at Ehigbeti recently, when Mr. Governor was interviewing, right, a set of young people on stage, you really then see that Lagos indeed has that sprite in it, and Lagos has a lot of hope, and we are moving the needles a little bit forward and aggressive, and the young people are doing that with us. So we do not believe that the idea of growing Lagos or taking Lagos to destination rests just with government alone. Mm-hmm. It is that idea that we can collaborate with our citizens, we can collaborate with young people, we can listen to them, we can work with them, right? Sometimes they know their space better than we do.
Indeed.
We can give them space to express and then invest and take risks. So if you see, we set up last week, which is the Lagos Science Research and Innovation Council. It's purely driven by the private sector, but we put in seed money there to give startups, right, who they feel by themselves, the governing council feel is qualifying. Today, we are rated #1 ahead of Cape Town, ahead of Nairobi in terms of our startup support. Okay. And these are the kind of things that make that happen.
And I know you could go on quite significant amount of time waxing lyrical over these exciting projects, because that is exactly what they are. We started out, you know, talking about this area because it's about modernity. Lagos is showing that it's entirely right up to, you know, right up to the tape in terms of following our people. But food, the problem of food in Lagos, there was a time when, you know, Lagosians were thinking that the previous administration entered into some sort of a rice agreement. The governor spoke about that. So it's not a comatose situation. It was pleasant to me to find out that from not knowing what exactly was going on, the governor was pointing out that there are efforts to sort of expand that area. Am I right?
Certainly. You realize that Lagos we have one of the biggest, in fact, the biggest food market in Africa, right? We consume 50% of the meat produced in Nigeria. So it is Lagos. Yes, we do. Lagos, you and I. Right? So
I would have thought that you would have said Kaduna or Kano.
No, we do. We do.
And that is a fact.
No, that's fact.
50% of the beef eating in Nigeria
produced in Nigeria
are
consumed in Lagos.
There you go. That's one for the books.
But one interesting thing we learned out of COVID was that even though, I mean, today you seem to get food when you want it because you have a big market, but when the supply chain is disrupted, we saw in COVID that Lagos can quickly dry out of food, which was why in COVID we created safe corridors for food. But what are we doing in that area, right? We are training entrepreneurs, right? In our appeals program, for example, we are creating about 12,350 jobs. Directly and indirectly empowering about 17,000 others, right? In the aquaculture environment, in the poultry environment, in the meat production environment, we're doing all of that, but not just in the growing or the science of agriculture, but also in the business of agriculture. So they know how to manage the enterprise. Mr. Governor recently broke ground on what I would call the largest food system security and logistic base in Africa.
Okay, what's that about?
Okay, so it's like a big market, a wholesale market, right, that would take food coming into Lagos, right, from all across Nigeria and across West Africa, right? We are going to layer on top of it a commodities exchange. So people are able to say, this food we are receiving here, we know the source, we know where it's coming from, we're able to check for the quality, and we're able to stimulate production, for example, up country. So for example, if we get, let's say 32 tons of tomatoes from Kaduna, right, and it happens, like you already know, that a lot of goods coming into Lagos, almost 40% of it has perished.
Yes,
we can then tell Kaduna or Kano or wherever those productions are going on to say, look, you need to package it like this to come into Lagos. You need to come with refrigerated trucks so that they keep up. What that will mean, for example, is that we will save in a lot of our food. That will mean technically or theoretically that the food prices can go down, or the businesses here can do significantly better. So that is going to be a major game changer.
And the governor has just broken ground on that.
Oh, certainly.
When is it expected to, sort of come on stream?
We expect, we are working with the French, we are working with Nigerians with a lot of experience. We are working with FMDQ, right, to create the system that
what
make
is
it happen.
FMDQ?
FMDQ is our exchange. It's our exchange.
It's okay. I understand all these. So far, you're there to explain all these jargons for the rest of us.
No, that's
fine.
Right, to basically create a market system for us.
Okay.
Right, and to ensure that a lot of those trucks do not need to come into Lagos, because as you approach that market, you know how much you will sell what you have, and you can turn around quickly and go back. So the turnaround systems also go up. All of that is to really protect our food systems and protect, give us very strong position from a resilience perspective as it has to do with our food security.
Commissioner Samuel Egube, let me take a break, and then we come back and we start looking at some hard matters. For instance, how the budget performed, the last budget performed. The governor has given us an inkling. It's high, but still not where they want to be. And we'll also look at how you intend to finance the new budget that has been laid.